Hey everybody, it's Tina from The Lover's Conjure. So we're going to be doing the second life update video that I've been saying I'm going to do for a while now. First and foremost, thank you to everybody who sent well wishes, during and regarding the hurricane. I appreciate y'all. I've made a few, sorry about that. I made a few posts on my community tab, but we're fine. We're so lucky. I mean, just looking at Fort Myers, Sanibel, all of those areas is insane. It's just unfathomable, and my heart just breaks, for everybody that was impacted. Please, continue to send positive energy to everyone. There are so many people that their lives were just turned completely upside down, or, maybe have lost, people, pets, things. It's not a happy time, down there. So, if everybody could please just send positive energy their way, that would be very much appreciated. Okay, so where are we going to start? So I'm going to pick up, I want to talk about the last year of my life because there's a few reasons. Number one is I have not been performing in a business sense, to my highest ability for a while now. It's been several months, and I'm pissed off at myself. I am. There's reasons behind this, which I'm going to tell you in just a second. But on a lot of these things, I needed closure. You know what I mean? I don't know. There was, in these situations, just a lot of ghosting, a lot of unanswered questions. And I'm not seeking answers or anything actually from anybody. All I want to do is close this karmic cycle so that I can move forward into the next one. I'm very tired of this cycle, and I feel like I've learned all the lessons and go to apply them in the next situation. And then, just right when I think yes, I did it. I finally, learned the lesson and I can ascend now. It's like, I get the even heavier duty issue. So it's just a lot. So anyways, I'm going to talk to you guys about it. So if you're not familiar with the stalker story, I had a creepy ass stalker from the internet, came in as a client, and then turned into a living nightmare. I ended up getting a restraining order against this person. I'll try to link the video. I'll link the stalker video in the description. That's part one to this, and this is kind of where I'm going to pick back up around November, I guess, of last year. So with the stalker, I did get a restraining order, but that does not stop the stalker, right? It just makes them find more creative ways to stalk you. So I've done a lot of research on all of this stuff and the psychology behind stalking and all this stuff, just so I can arm myself going forward and know what red flags to look for with things, people, stuff like that. Anyway, so the stalking has not stopped. No, it has actually escalated, if that makes sense. I don't want to talk too much about it because I feel like feeding it gives it power. And when I say it, I mean the demon, because that's what this thing is. It's a cockroach. I don't even look at it like human anymore. And I'm sorry to say that, but it's just the way I have to view it. It's the way I view it because there's something ungodly about this creature, and it's disgusting to me. It just really freaks me out. So anyway, I walked out a couple weeks ago. I was here at night, and it was crouched down, looking into the glass, with the doors with a camera, and then when I saw it, it saw me and was surprised and got up and ran, down the street. But I ran up to the window because I don't run away from these things. I run towards them, got up and, ran to the window, and it was wearing so freaking corny. It's from the 80s movies. You know how that like a stalker would have a typical hoodie tracksuit, look, a dark one, with tennis shoes. That's exactly what it was wearing. It was you're living out some sort of movie fantasy. You need to go to the hospital and tell them that you need help, girl. That's what you need to do. Just tell them I can't help myself. I have compulsive behaviors and I'm violating restraining orders. Tell them that, go get you some help. So anyways, no, it's still around. And then if it's not personally around, it hires other people, PIs, private investigators, whatever they are, I don't really care, but I see them. I know they're there. I've got the whole place is like a fucking fortress. I've got it, securityed up. So it's stupid, but it's just, I guess it's just become part of my normal life at this point. I don't know what else to do. You know, the police get informed every time there's an incident, you know, where something, you know, happened. Like when I've almost been in like 2 or 3 car wrecks because of them following me as well. The last one was I was pulling out of the store and going down the street, and then I realized I'd forgotten something, so I pulled back in. It's like street parking, you know? So I pulled back into the next available spot. I was just gonna run back into the store, and the truck behind me had pulled out the same time I did, and I only went like 500 feet. And then when I pulled back in, it pulled back in, you know? So then when I got back in the car, I was like, let me just check this mofo out. So I pulled back into the road, drove, and then went to make a left turn into a shopping center, and it also went to make a left turn into the shopping center. So then I, you know, stopped the brakes. I was like, no. It realized I knew that it was following me, and then they ended up turning around. I don't remember how it all ended up, but anyways, there are people following me also in vehicles. It's unsafe, you know. It's just whatever. I don't know what else to do, because it's just part of life. I just have to accept it. That's it. So there's that update. Okay, so going back to November, when I was having these problems, when the stalker was in like the thick of like the worst part of it, you know, when she was having me swatted and all this stuff, I had a friend who I thought was a friend, okay, that was a YouTuber as well. I don't know if she still is or not, but she was a YouTuber. I had met her through Etsy, but this was like a couple years back, and she'd come to me again as a customer of the shop, like This is back when I could still be, you know, talking to people, when it was like that size, you know, very small. So she came like right in the beginning. So anyways, I, you know, befriended her, and her story was that, you know, she was in an abusive marriage and couldn't get out of it because the guy was a total nut, like, you know, chasing her around with guns and shit. And you know, she had me like roped in on all this stuff, and she had 2 kids, you know, teenager, and then a disabled son, you know, and she was trying to get back home to those kids because she had left the state with her husband and left the kids with the dads or whatever back where she was from. So over the course of, you know, a couple years, I helped her out a lot, whether it was doing tarot readings and magic, or yes, I gave her money. I know it's the stupidest thing to do. Someone from the internet. The way I had looked at it at the time was, I mean, she would FaceTime me like with her kids and stuff. Like, she's a scammer, yeah, but she had a good game going, you know what I mean? Like a real good game. So anyway, I had paid her rent several times, and she was living in a motel, you know, just all this stuff. And it didn't go to the point where it was like, you know, I'm sending her my whole paycheck or anything of that nature. I didn't do anything financially for her that I could not easily and comfortably do, you know, but I did a lot for her, you know, and I did it under the hope, you know, that this was actually benefiting her children, which is really what I was worried about, you know. But anyway, so when the stalker stuff's going on, she's one of the only people that I actually spoke to in like 2 years. Like, I went through like this massive transformation where pretty much everybody from my old life fell away, you know, and I was just kind of on my own for a couple years. The whole pandemic, I was single, no, not even so much as talk to anybody the whole time, you know. So I had very few people that I was actually in contact with, and she was one of them. I think there were 3 total. She was one of them. And you know, I'm telling her this whole story about the stalker and how fucked up it is, and she's on the phone with me late at night and stuff, and you know, there's a bunch of stuff going on. Like, we were in communication about it because I think she saw it as like her opportunity. Whoo! She was like, yes, now I have a reason. She was like, hey girl, let me come down to Florida and I'm gonna help you. Because I was telling her, I'm like, girl, I'm struggling to like get my work done. Like, the business, everything was happening all at once. I'm signing the lease on this place. I've got, you know, contractors coming in, because this was a church. So like, I rebuilt it, you know, into what it is now, which wasn't like a huge thing, but it was a big thing for me. You know what I mean? Like, it was like my first brick and mortar project, whatever. So I was trying to focus on this. I've got the stalker, right? Like, you know what I mean? And then, you know, I've got everything else too. Like, I have a daughter, oh my gosh, you know, and normal course of business stuff, you know? So she's like, let me come down there and help you. I'll help you with the business. I'll help you, you know, respond to stuff. I'll help you, you know, da-da-da-da-da. And I'll be there with you. Like, we can sleep in shifts, you know, because that's what it was literally boiling down to. Okay, I had this creepo cockroach, okay, outside my house, peeping in my windows and shit, you know what I mean? Living in a van across the street from my fucking house, you know? So, anyways, she says she's gonna come down and help me. So she comes down once, and I bought the ticket, of course, you know, put her up in my deluxe accommodations on the beach, of course, you know, and she's staying for a week. And, you know, within that week, I kind of got to know her well. She was still like wearing the mask, you know, so she did a couple things to kind of just get her foot in the door, you know, nothing of any significance or importance, but just, you know, attempted to help out, you know, around with stuff. So, you know, whatever. So she went back, and then she had stopped. I don't even remember how it ended up, and I don't want to misspeak on anything here. But somehow she ended up coming back down for a second trip, and it wasn't even, it was almost like I was like, were you doing mind work on me, girl? Because that's what it was. It was like I woke, like I was like, you're coming back? I was like, oh, I didn't know you were coming back for like another week. Okay. Because at the end of the first week, I was, you know, very sure that this was not going to be a close-knit friendship, you know, in real life. This was like an internet friend that you keep at very, very, very much arm's length. Okay. So anyway, she comes back now. She's like, oh, you know, it's my birthday's coming up, blah, blah, blah. I make her buy the ticket because I was like, okay, let me know when you get your, you know, arrival time, and I'll come pick you up. Because you know, I wasn't gonna do anything else. So after her behavior, the way when she was here, and the behavior basically, again, I don't want to make anybody look bad or anything, but we just don't get along. We're not compatible. We're oil and water, you know what I mean? Like, I'm a hardworking, you know, usually positive like person, you know, I'm ready to get shit done, and this girl's sleeping till 4, you know, then ordering some Uber Eats, then, you know, going back to sleep, then sexting these guys, you know, it's just like, ugh. So you know, the second time she comes back, she comes again under the guise that she's going to be helping me. Oh my gosh, I'm going to help you get da 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 da. She did a bunch of shady shit, including tell my employees that I told her that she could have anything I wanted in the shop. So I come down the stairs, okay? I have no idea what's going on. I come down the stairs, and she's literally packing a suitcase. She's got my employees like bubble wrapping up all of my products, like one of each, and putting it in a suitcase. And I'm like, what's going on, you know? And she's like, oh, remember you said I could have anything I wanted? And I was like, oh, I think I did say that when she walked in, and she was like, oh, this is so cool. It's like, take something if you want something. You can have anything you want. Just take one of, you know, whatever. That's what she was meaning. So when I said that, she took that very literally. So she took one of everything. $3,500 worth of merchandise or some shit. And I, you know what I mean? At that point, I was so exhausted with everything, the stalker, everything, the business, I was just like, okay, just take it. I don't care, whatever. So anyways, her birthday, okay? I'm like, let's go out to dinner on me for your birthday, you know? And this was back in November when it was still, you know, masks and everything else. And so we go out to dinner. And as we're walking into the restaurant, because we had to wear a mask in the Uber, so I just kept mine on and wore it into the restaurant. And she was an anti-masker, like total anti-masker. And again, I am not here for politics, you know. I was looking out for the health and safety of my loved ones. That is all I wanted to do, okay? So we walk in the restaurant, and I live in a very Trumpist area. I just do. And somebody, you know, at one of the tables was like, said something about the mask. Why are you wearing that effing mask in here? Like something like that, okay? And so my girl behind me was like, yeah, pedophiles. I'm like, what? So she starts like revving up the fight, you know what I mean? And they start attacking me. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I apologize. I said restaurant. This was the bar after the restaurant. We did eat dinner, and then we went to a bar to have a drink, and this is when all this occurred. I misspoke. But anyways, it was a restaurant bar, but it doesn't matter. Anyways, so yeah, they started attacking me. So I'm like, holy shit. And it was so bad, the yelling and screaming. I went outside, and I was just like vaping, you know what I mean? I'm sitting there. She's got her newfound friends. I'm just stunned at what just happened. So I'm like, I'm going to call an Uber. But I'm in this dilemma because I'm like, she doesn't live here. She has no money. You know what I mean? Like, she can't get her own Uber home, I don't think, you know? Even if she did, like, I don't know. I'm in the position where you know, it's like, I never leave anybody behind. You know what I mean? But this was like putting me in an awkward place, you know, especially a girl. This is putting me in a very awkward place where she's with this new group of homies attacking me. And, you know what I mean? Like, I've got to take her back to my home and provide for her now. Girl. So I calmed down. I played it cool. We reconnect, get in the Uber to go home because obviously it was time to go home. And we get there, let everything chill. I go straight to bed. She goes straight to bed, da, da, da. I sat there and literally stewed the whole night. I was like, I can't believe it. Why would you do that? You know what I mean? I just got up. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning too, y'all. I don't feel bad though. I got up and I was like, get the out of my house. She freaked out. Like, she jumped up and she was like, holy shit. You know, I'm like, you got 1 hour to be out of my house. I was like, you're a terrorist. I called her a straight up terrorist. I was like, because that's what she was doing, y'all. Like, okay. This is the irony of all of it. You know what I mean? She took my political affiliation, tried to use it against me, all right? But I'm the one who's been way, way, way more there for our country than she could ever even dream of being. You know what I mean? So, and I know that. So I'm like, it was so back-asswards. I've never seen anything like it. So anyways, I called her a terrorist because she was a terrorist. And, yeah, she was very much a pro-January 6th. You know, that type of person. And that just doesn't fly in my home. I'm sorry. Nope. So I threw her out after 1 hour. And I know I sound like I'm really mean right now, and I probably should have handled that in a much nicer, lighter way. But guess what? You're a terrorist. So that was that one. So then what happened next? Oh, the contractors, yes. So I had hired some contractors to do a build out on the store, to turn it from a church into a store. And we had a plan, right? We had a vision, we had a dream, we had sketches, okay? We had all this stuff that we had agreed to. I had been looking at spaces for a year, and every time I'd look at one that I felt like could be a good potential, I'd grab the contractor and then take him down there so that he could give me an estimate based on what we wanted to do. So we had been working together for like a year now. You know, he came in referred to by somebody that I trusted a lot. So it was like, you know, kind of a shock. So, but not really now that I look back. Anyways, they come in here. Now we make a plan, right? And the plan says it includes that anything that they're doing, they didn't want to pull permits for anything. And I'm like, we can pull permits, you know what I mean? Oh, no, it's going to be X amount. They didn't want to pull permits for anything, you know? And I play by the book. Like, I am extremely by the book. Like, again, compliance was a real good career match for me because I know how to follow the rules, you know what I mean? And I don't play around with anything. I keep hitting this, sorry, y'all. I don't play around with anything really, but like especially legalities, you know, stuff like that, that's gonna, you know what I mean? Like I'm respectful of whatever the rules are. So, and I follow them. So anyways, you know, they come in, start their build out, and then they do 1 day's worth of work one day. They got the walls up, like for the rooms. I don't know what else they did. But anyways, they, on day 2, I think it was, were like, hey, the city came in and stopped us, you know, we need to get a permit. And I'm like, for what? You said you didn't need a permit for anything you were doing. What do you need a permit for? You know, oh, they want to know everything, you know, the city, you know, and they're like talking shit, like, you know, like it's the city, like attacking me. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, how long do you think this is going to be? Because I signed the lease on October 1st. We were supposed to open on Halloween, okay? Build out started like October 2nd or 3rd. It was very early on in the month. So I'm thinking we've built in time, right? Anticipated time, total time was going to be about 2 weeks. That would give us 2 weeks then to get everything decorated on the inside and get open. So they're like, oh, it shouldn't be more than a week or two. You know, we'll let you know as soon as we, you know, hear back. We'll go file for it right now, da-da-da-da. So a week goes by. I give them a week because at this point I still was not thinking that they were going to run out, you know. I was still thinking that they were going to come back, and I didn't want to piss them off because I didn't want them not to come back because I had pissed them off, you know what I mean? So I wasn't being a Karen. I wasn't doing anything. They didn't even catch flack from me. Nothing, you know. But after a week or so, I'm like, hey, what's going on, gal? What's up? You know, where's my permit? oh, Kevin's going down there today. I'm like, nah, dog, like, where's my permit? Like, seriously, I mean, I started to get annoyed, So then I have to start being a little bit of a Karen. I'm like, hey, my business opens on October 31st. Just saying, I need you to get down here and finish this up. So finally, after like a couple weeks, I don't even remember, y'all. There's so much going on. It was a while. After a couple weeks, they come in to say that they're finishing everything. They don't actually finish anything. They like kind of put the very bare minimum up of what they needed to do in order to like legally leave the project. You know what I'm saying? And then they're standing there and I'm like, what about the bookcases? What about all the other stuff that I paid you for already up front? And they're like, bye. And they're just packing up their shit and leaving. They just ran, you know what I mean? It's like I just gave these guys so much money, and I don't want to talk too much about finances, but I had worked so hard, and saved so much money so that I could, pay for this stuff out of pocket without taking loans. I was really proud of the fact that I had worked so hard to get out of debt so that I could quit my day job and do this full time, and it paid off and all this stuff. And, here I am. Well, I'll tell y'all that later, but I had paid for all this with money that I earned with my blood, sweat, and tears. You know what I mean? I was like, okay, so that happened. So in the midst of kind of all of this, right, I go out to, my store doesn't open on time, obviously. The brokers, the commercial brokers that helped me find this place wanted to take me out for drinks, and I was like, okay. So we go to a cute little bar and I'm meeting with them and we're having a nice little time and everything's great. And I go to the bathroom and I look at my phone and I have a notification on there on my LinkedIn from a person that I was best friends with for a very long time that I had not spoken to in a few years because he was, married and all this other stuff. So whatever. So anyway, this message, it's like, hey, where have you been? I've been looking for you. Oh my gosh, I've been so worried about you. I'm like, I'm in the same place, man. I've been here since 2012. What are you talking about? So we start chatting, we exchange phone numbers. He still had my phone number. I'm like, my number never changed. So anyways, yeah, so we start chatting and we're getting along real good. Now, when I say best friend, I mean, we met in 2005, okay? We'd both just recently moved to Florida. Like, he had gotten out of the Army because he'd gotten hurt overseas, and I had just moved to Florida from my military life. Back, I was never in the military. I was a civilian. I worked for the DOD as well, but I was very used to the lifestyle of the military, right? So meeting him and him having still this very like military-esque, and if you know what I mean, you know what I mean. You know what I mean? There's people that have a military, you can tell they've been in the military. They have that like demeanor, So meeting him was like, woohoo, because he's also from Georgia. He was hilarious to boot. I mean, we had a good old time. Like, he's a good old fashioned redneck. You know what I mean? Like, it was funny. So we became really good friends really fast. And when I say friends, that's what I mean. I had a boyfriend at the time. I was dating a lawyer, and sorry, there's just funny stories behind all this stuff, but he was out chasing tail, but you know what I mean, there was not a chance in hell that I was going to be dating anybody like that. I was dating grown men at this point. And I was not dating no 22-year-old 23-year-old hurricane. And that was his nickname, so that's why I said that. But anyway, so but we could be friends though, and so I had a good old time with him. We were best buddies. I mean, I can't even tell you. I'd wake up in the morning several nights out of the week and he'd be camped out on the couch, passed out, just having been in the area from going out or whatever the night before. He was real good friends with my boyfriend, then fiance, then husband at the time as well. And that's just how it was, you know what I mean? Like, Braden was part of my package. He came with me. And that's how it was. I took him right under my wing. He was struggling a lot at that point in his life, and I tried to be there for him as best I could. I really, really did. Anyway, he moved back to Georgia, after I got married is what happened. And, we stayed in touch. We were there for each other still, through thick and thin over the years. Like, when my grandmother died, he was at her house before I was. Like, that's how close we were. He was waiting for me when I got there, same with his brother. I was in the car on the way to Atlanta before he even knew what happened, because my parents found out first and told me, and then I boogie woogied it up, you know. Same, I mean, we were at each other's weddings, you know, all that stuff. We you know, we were good friends. We'd traveled together a time or two as well. After he was when he was going through his divorce, again, this is all back I don't remember what year this was, 2010, 2011. But it doesn't matter. But anyways, you know, I invited him to come up to New York City with me because I had a friend who was a buyer for a department store down here, and she would go up there for like a week out of the month. So anytime I wanted to join her, you know, she was always like, girl, come on with me, you know, just get the plane ticket. I'm like, all right. So I had finally decided to go to New York with her, and you know, she allowed me to invite him as well, you know, to come on that trip. And so, I mean, that was like an insane trip. I mean, there was a lot of stuff, like crazy stuff that happened in New York City with, oh my gosh, with him. But you know, we had a lot of fun, and we experienced some really crazy things. Like, you know, that there's an ability to like manifest magic wherever you go. I've been doing it for years, but like we were able to get like put in the front row at Letterman, and some other stuff too. It was really cool. So anyway, we had a good time. But you know, I digress. We were very, very good friends. You know, this is the kind of friend that he was the only friend that I had that I would, you know, do anything for. Like drop it at the, you know, drop of a dime. I used to do that for everybody, but I can't do that anymore. But he was that person. Like if he'd have called or texted and been like, I need help, I'd already been halfway there. You know what I mean? That's the kind of friend that I viewed him, that I considered him. So I get to Atlanta, and of course, you know, he wants to ask me out. You know, he asked me out 17 years prior, and I said no, because I had just started dating the guy that I ended up marrying. And that was, you know, that was 17 years ago, but he wanted, you know, he asked me out. Like the first night I was there, I was like, that's cute. He wanted to date me. So I was like, yeah, let's give it a shot. Let's date, you know. Here I am thinking, you know, we've got a solid foundation. If it doesn't work out, whatever, it'll be fine. You know, like we're still friends. We'll figure it out. You know what I mean? Well, as time progressed, you know, it became apparent that there was not going to be us still being friends. You know what I mean? If we didn't make it, like it was, I don't know how to explain it, y'all. It was just crazy. So over the course of, I don't know how long it was, January to April, I was on 16 airplanes going to Atlanta and coming back, okay, or Savannah or wherever. We went on 2 vacations, both of which I funded, Disney World and Savannah, and had a good old time. And he had me, you know, thinking that we were going to be a family. He really did. He's got kids, and I adore those kids, you know, and he knows that, you know what I mean? Like he knows that, and he used them to like rope me in and like manipulate me and blind me to shit, you know, and I'm freaking out, not freaking out, but like I'm trying to, you know, assure him, like, because he's jealous. He was jealous, you know. He had to have the tracker on my phone, watching what I'm doing, where I'm going, you know, and I don't care, because the only thing I was doing was exactly what I was doing before I started hanging out with him, which was being at home and going to work. That's it. I rarely go out. I mean, I go out a little more now, but at the time I didn't go out at all. So it's like, you know, you can have the tracker on my phone, that's fine. And then, you know, I started to notice, like, over time, he started to make like little comments about my success, you know, things to the effect of like, what is this, competition, you know? And here's the thing, you know, he got a little bit of a later start in life as far as his career goes, but I was extremely proud of how far he had come, you know? I was genuinely happy for him. I genuinely supported him. The reason that I was going to ATL all the time, and him not coming here, he came once. Well, him not coming here was because he had a new work project that he was getting off the ground, and he kept telling me, Tina, as soon as this project's off the ground, as soon as this project's underway and it's like out of phase 1, then, you know, I'll be down there in Florida and I'm going to help you finish the store. I got your back. Don't worry about it. So here I am like, okay, awesome. You know, now mind you, it was costing me $410 a day with all the employees, the rent, the overhead, you know what I mean, to hold the store not being open, And he knew that. He knew it well. He was very, very aware of this stuff. He just kept telling me, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I got your back. I got your back. He did not, in fact, have my back. So let me tell you how this ended, this whirlwind romance of mine. So, I think it was either the trip before the last trip up there. There's a few things. I started to get a real shady vibe about his friends. He's got these friends, that one of them he calls his brother, but it's not really his brother. You know what I mean? But there's something nefarious going on there. There is. Now, I don't know if it was just jealousy of me, all right, or if they were worried I was going to take their boy away, or what the hell was going on. But there was something wrong with that group. There was, okay? I started feeling like shade, you know what I mean? Like shade and hate when I went up there, and I promise you, I did not bring it on myself. I was very kind and very polite to everybody that I met, as I am to every person that I meet, all right? Unless they give me a reason not to be. So there's that. So all of a sudden, I'm feeling the shade and hate. And then we went up to the marina, and his buddy was up there with a boat. And he was like, hey, I want to go for a boat ride. We're like, all right. So we jump on this boat, and there's these girls on there. And when I tell you I felt the darkness emanating from the bow of that boat, I felt it. I was like, ooh. So this girl was like, hey, girl, come on up here and sit with us, And I'm like, oh, I'm good, girl. I was like, I'm going to sit in the back so I don't get wet, because it was still cold outside. So I had like a sweater and jeans and shit on. I didn't want to get wet, On the bow, they were in their bathing suits. This to me, they're warm and sunny at 60 degrees. To me, that's freaking, frigid ass winter. That's the only reason I just sat back there. But then I felt the daggers, you know what I mean? And then next thing you know, later that evening or another time we go up there, I leave the marina, there's a bar in there, and I walked out to go to the bathroom, which was outside. And when I come back in, there's this girl, young girl, standing in front of my boyfriend with his face like in her, chest. I mean, she was tall too. She was like 6 foot something, big girl. So, and she's like, why are you staring at my, and they're trying to like make me jealous. And I'm like, no, I don't play these games like now. Like, this is high school stuff. Are you guys still doing all this shit? But seriously, like, there was nothing to be jealous of. Not a thing. You know what I mean? I don't have jealousy issues. I'm not jealous of anybody. You know what I mean? If somebody has something that I want, instead of being jealous of them, I work hard to get the same thing or better. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I do. I'm not competitive. I do my own thing, and I don't have jealousy problems, but they were trying to trigger my jealousy. I'm like, why would they do that? So of course, on the way home, I'm like, why did they do that? You know what I mean? I had his back the whole time. I didn't freak. I didn't panic. I didn't do anything. I didn't get mad at him. I still wasn't mad at him. I just wanted to know what was going on. That doesn't just happen. You know what I mean? People don't just do that. Something happened. There was something going on with one of those girls, So, anyway, he, instead of giving me an answer on that, decides to treat me like absolute garbage and like I'm being too nosy for even suggesting that he explain what happened at the marina, And, right. So I think it was that night. I don't remember. I don't know. He said some real messed up shit to me. Let's just say that, okay? So I come back and I'm devastated. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh my God. But I already had this Disney trip booked, planned for, paid for. It was in the books already. And his kid knew we were doing this. And I did not want to take that away from her, So, and it was in like a week. So he comes back, things are kind of sketch, During the separation, we were still talking on the phone. We were still in communication every day, but it just, that incident, the whole thing just really put a damper on things. And in that incident, I know when this was, it was that night. So I went to bed. I didn't argue with him. I don't like to argue. So I didn't argue with him. So I go to bed and I wake up. It's probably about 4 o'clock in the morning in like panic attack stage. You know what I mean? Like my heart's like, and I, leaned over and I was like, hey, I'm like, tell me what happened with those girls at the marina. What is that? And it was right then I got this flash. I was like, he's cheating. But I didn't know that, you know what I mean? Like, I was blind to it for some reason before. I guess just because I loved him so much, you know what I mean? And we had such a strong history that it didn't even occur to me that he would be lying to me or cheating on me, you know what I mean? So I was like, you stupid POS. And he took that and ran with it, y'all, because it was the one thing he needed. It was the only thing that he had, you know. You spoke to me disrespectfully, so now I can punish you for the rest of your life. All because I called him a stupid POS one time because he was cheating on me. Okay, so he takes that and now it's like he gets to run with it. He can make me look so bad. Every argument, you know, everything that's wrong, you know, is my fault now because I disrespectfully spoke to him. Me. You know? No. I'll tell you what I did. I bent over backwards to make him happy. All right. When he said he wanted to be a family, I was like, it's go time. All right. So everything took a back seat to that. I was very, very focused on that. And he knew that that's something that I had always wanted, you know what I mean? That I never had. So it was like, ugh. So, and then when I say never had, I mean a healthy, non-toxic family dynamic. You know what I mean? I've had plenty of toxic dynamics in my life. I'm talking about a truly good, well-established family, you know? And he was playing that role. He was pretending to be everything I wanted, you know? It just kills me, though, because it's like, you know what I mean? I think about, like, I think he, like, forgot, you know, about the past, you know what I mean? He tries to act like that's not him or that didn't happen or, you know, like that doesn't exist, you know? All the shit that I put up with him for years. Had his back 150% for years, you know? He said he wanted to be a family. I'm up there literally cooking, cleaning, doing all his laundry, you know what I mean? I'm so stupid. So dumb. I gave him full-on wife benefits, you know, with zero in return. He was closed off emotionally completely. Now I know why. It's because he had a couple other girlfriends hanging out. You know what I mean? He's probably trying to thwart the daggers. There was a bunch of more stuff that happened though too. This is all towards the end when it all started to kind of become clear, you know, this was what he was doing. Ugh. He's twisted. So anyways, they come down to go to Disney World, okay? Squash it all, put it all aside for the kids. You know what I mean? Everything's good. We were fine. There was not one argument the whole time. We were great. I don't argue. Again, I will not argue with you. So, of course, there's not going to be an argument because that's not what I do. So, we get back from Disney, and that night, we'd had a great day. We went to the beach. Emmy wasn't feeling good, so she went to bed a little early. I stayed up with his daughter and we made cupcakes, and I had all these cool like edible glitters and sprinkles and all this cool fun stuff, you know, we were playing with it and we had a great time, you know what I mean? And after she went to bed, he and I were hanging out, we were having a drink, and all of a sudden he looks at me out of nowhere and goes, I'm 99% sure that you're my male employee. Okay. I was, in fact, not effing my male employee. He was actually effing me, which I didn't know about. And I'm not saying literally, I'm saying in a different sense, which I'll tell you about in a second. But I had absolutely nothing to do with him romantically, nor was I attracted to him in that way at all. And this literally came out of nowhere. You know what I mean? And I think it's because, you know, he had been using the map thing on the iPhone to track me, and he could see I was going to work, and he's like, she's got to be doing something wrong. She's got to be doing something wrong. What is it? You know what I mean? And so he made this shit up in his head. So I looked at him and I was like, I'm not doing that, and I'm not dealing with this anymore. And I went upstairs and I went to bed, and he slept on the couch, and they were gone in the morning when I woke up. So he was supposed to come down. He already had a flight booked. It was like the trip that he was supposed to help me finish the store, because he's in construction, so he could help me, you know what I mean? Like finish this stuff so I wouldn't have had to pay more contractors. But the day that he's supposed to come down, I had a doctor's appointment at 9 a.m. Emmy was out of school. I had her with me. We had a grand opening party thing happening here at the store, and I needed to go to Publix and get balloons and cake and shit for it, okay? And I needed to be back here by 10-ish, you know, for the store opening. So All of these things are happening. He calls me when I'm on the way to the doctor, and he's like, I don't think I'm going to come on this flight. And I'm like, why? And we were fine. Everything, you know what I mean? Like, there was no arguing. I'm like, why aren't you getting on the flight? We were talking normal. And he's like, I just don't feel like you respect me. Okay. I don't feel like I should get on this flight, you know? And then he would cancel the flight, and he'd screenshot it and say flight canceled. And I was like, good. Don't come. I don't want you here then. And he wanted me to beg him to come. So then he'd rebook the flight. He did it twice, I think. Rebooks the flight, sends me another screenshot. All right, I'll be there at 10 p.m. instead of 7 p.m. like he was supposed to be. So I'm like, okay. All right, we'll talk when you get here. So then next thing comes, I'm canceling the flight again. And I'm not even responding to this shit at this point. I'm just like, bro, do whatever you need to do, homie. You don't want to help me finish this store? I get it. Take a nice weekend off. Do whatever you want to do. I don't care. I just don't care at this point, okay? Oh, let me tell y'all though, the night before, this is what happened. He calls me on the way home from work and says, I'm going to order a pizza and go to bed, watch a movie and go to bed. I was like, okay. He said, I want to be nice and rested up so that when I get to Florida tomorrow, I've got, I'm in a good mood. I've got good energy. I'm not hungover, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, great. Good job, big boy. All right. So what do you think he does? Not that. Okay. So he comes home, and this is what I got from him. Okay. He says that he had an interior designer coming to his house to do interior design work that he had met at the bar. Okay. So I look back now and I'm like, wow. That's what these things do though. These narcissists, you know what I mean? They intentionally try to confuse you so bad that you don't know your head from your tail. You know what I mean? It's like all they want to do is just make your world chaos, and that's how they get you. You know what I mean? So that's how they wear you down. And that's what he was trying to do, wear me down. So anyways, he said that he went out with this woman to the marina and had a drink. And then he said he drove home. But then he said he didn't drive home. He doesn't remember how he got home. And then he said the interior designer took him home. So he couldn't tell me how he got home. He had absolutely no memory of the evening before. Okay, according to him, he was blacked out. All right, maybe he drove, maybe he didn't. Maybe the lady took him home, maybe she didn't, Like, he doesn't know. He has no memory, okay? Now, of course, what's he posturing for? The fact that I'm going to find out that he's effing, girls from Tinder. Woo! You know what I mean? Like, it's clear to see at this point. So anyway, I was not very happy with him. But again, I didn't say anything about it. I just was like, okay, come on down here. So anyways, long story short, he tells me for the third time that he's rebooking the flight, and this time the flight gets in at 1:30 a.m. And I said, sir, I'm so sorry, but I have my store opening tomorrow morning, and I cannot be there to pick you up at the airport, so you're going to need to take an Uber if you would like to stay at my residence. Okay, I'm not driving out there. Nope. Not doing it at 1 o'clock in the morning when you were supposed to be here at 7. If your flight had been delayed, totally different story, but you're playing games, And so because I would not pick him up, and he was so heavily offended that I said that he needs to take an Uber from the airport at, 2 o'clock in the morning so that I don't have to do this, so that I can function, for my business tomorrow, right? That he didn't get on the flight. It's great. It's all I needed. I was like, the last conversation, I was like, if you don't get on that flight, I'm going to be on a mother effing boat tomorrow. And guess what happened? I was on a mother effing boat the next day. Nothing crazy, guys, but I made new friends, and that's a whole nother story. I'm not going to get into any of that. Let me go back to my list. Okay. So, all right. So he's done. We're donezoed, okay? But the damage, let's talk about the damage that this has caused. You know what I mean? So I've delayed my store opening, right? I haven't been here enough. You know what I mean? I should have been here, boots on the ground the whole time. I'm trying to run what I can run from up there. But I had these employees that were also working against me, which is really terrible. Because especially for one of them, the other two, I don't care. The one of them though, that hurt my heart. It did. It was bad. So Anyway, the financial cost of all of this with, numbnuts, the emotional drain and toll that it took on me, it just had me in a very, very dark place. You know what I mean? I was like, oh my God, I still didn't have my store open. Well, yes, I did. I'm sorry. I'd been open for a week when we broke up, but it was just 2 weeks. But it was, you know what I mean? Like I was really, really hurt. Like as much as I can sit here now and laugh at it, and that's the reason it took me so long to make this video. There was not a day for 6 months that I didn't cry. You know what I mean? Like I was devastated. Devastated. I just couldn't believe that, of all people, he would, well, couldn't believe he would do something like this first, Second, to intentionally try to destroy me because you cannot control me. Why? He was jealous. It all goes back to jealousy. He couldn't handle the fact that I function on my own. He couldn't handle the fact that I own my own business. He couldn't handle the fact that I'm independent and don't need him for anything. You know what I mean? Because the only thing that he has to offer, and the thing that he does and dangles, the carrot, is money. But once you take the money away, but he doesn't even have money, and that's the thing. That's so funny about all of this. I'm like, I make a lot more than that. Don't know. And that bothered him. You know what I mean? Instead of him looking at it like, okay, wow, what a great opportunity to build upon a family business, maybe get out of the effing rat race. You know what I mean? She's already got this up and running, successful at the time, business that's doing well. And you know what I mean? If I want to join in on that, I have an opportunity to do that and to build an empire. But no. Let's just beat Tina down until she's, got nothing left, you know what I mean? And then kick her straight in the face too, to boot. Because that's what he did. So then he sends me a package of all my stuff, right, that I had up there. Just not the gifts I had bought for him, which there were many, many gifts. When I walked into that place, it was bachelor pad. He didn't have a lamp in his bedroom. He didn't have a trash can in the bathroom. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. I filled his house up, not filled it up, but, I got him set up. All right. So all of that was a loss too. He took all of it knowing what he was doing the whole time, Let me pay for trips and shit, knowing what he was doing the whole time. It's so bad. Oh, man. So, anyway. It's nicotine, by the way, for anybody wondering. I know it's not good for me. So he sends a box with my toiletries in it, my stuff from the bathroom, basically, like my contact solution, my shampoo, my razor, that type of stuff. And in the box, there are a pair of size large, stretched out, Walmart brand Spanx. Okay? So I'm like, oh my God, click. I sent him a picture. I'm like, what is this? And he was like, oh, those are my daughter's. His daughter weighs like 60 pounds soaking wet. She's a little girl. I'm like, okay. And here's the kicker. I had just been up there, and the last time I was up there is when I did every single bit of his laundry, every bit of it. I washed every item in that house, all the dish rags, all the towels, all the sheets, all of it. It was over 10 loads of laundry I did in one day while he was at work, just to be nice. You know what I mean? Just to be nice and help him out. And those underoos were not anywhere in the laundry. No, they weren't. So the underoos were probably from, the hoe from Thursday night. And I'm sorry to say that. I know that's mean, but again, Shadyville, USA. That's all I have to say about that place. Because that's what it is. It's a bunch of shady people up there. Okay. So that happened. Okay. So while that's kind of going on and transpiring, I've got these 3 employees. Okay. We'll call them the 3 stooges, because that's what they were. Now, one of them had worked for me for a very long time. He had been with me the longest out of any, okay? 18 months or so, something like that. And I hand-plucked this kid out of his job that he was in because the place he was working was filled with nefarious people, all right? And I knew that, but I had to go there to get my vape stuff, all right? So that's how I met this kid, and I was taken with him immediately. And this has absolutely no romantic affiliation, period. He was a kid, you know what I mean? He was an 18-year-old kid, but he was intelligent, hardworking, and very, very well spoken. Also very polite. You know, his demeanor was really good, for especially for a kid his age. He's got like an old soul kind of demeanor, you know what I mean? But he also, like, he after a couple of times of being in there, he knew exactly what I wanted when I walked in the door. He, you know, it's the customer service aspect that I'm looking for me, right? So I'm like, well, for my business, you know? So I hand pluck this kid out, and he's got, you know, over a year's worth of training on the back end of everything. He can run the whole business, you know, top to bottom pretty much, you know what I mean? I train. That way I have a backup that I trust, because I trusted him. I trusted him a lot. And while I'm flying back and forth to Atlanta, I'm still down here, you know what I mean? I'm up in Atlanta 2 days, back here 2 days, maybe, you know what I mean? I'm going back and forth. So while that's happening, they take the opportunity to go ahead and sabotage my business, which was really shady. So what they did is, there was a few things. They did a false unemployment claim. I fired one of the kids because his behavior was too much. It was too much. And he was fired with cause. He should not have been eligible for unemployment whatsoever. But because I had entrusted my employee with the keys to the mailbox, the letters from the unemployment office didn't make it. Okay, to me. Anyway, so next thing I find out, this kid's on unemployment on my payroll. I'm like, okay, all right. And it's too late for me to contest. So there was that. The second thing that they did is that they staged a walkout on the day of our grand opening party, which was 2/22. They, that morning, got together, the remaining two got together and decided that they were going to sabotage. They had been doing this for probably a week ahead of time, okay? This was very well planned. What they had done is that every single package that left here, they put the wrong product in the package. So they would swap out, every package was the wrong product, okay? And this was literally hundreds of packages, okay? So again, this is over a week that they're doing this. I didn't know, because they're manning all of the customer service, they're manning the mail, they're manning this, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not seeing any of this, right? What I am seeing, though, is a sharp decline in my numbers. So I look at that and I'm like, oh, what the hell's going on, right? So anyway, this all happened in like a one day. So that morning, we were doing stuff in here to try to get the store just cleaned up and ready to have this party that evening, because it was just friends and family. It was nothing major, but you know, it was just a little welcoming, like welcome get together housewarming party type thing. So I'm working on getting the store cleaned up, and I leave to go get something from Home Depot or something, and they text me and say, we're walking out, okay? One of them said that the one that I was gonna get fired I was gonna fire anyway, because he and his boyfriend screwed me over as well with my floors, and they know that as well too. But he, you know, he's the one, I know what he did. He manipulated, you know what I mean? Because the kid that I cared about was very impressionable, and I saw that, and I saw the types that were attaching themselves to him. And I was sad, you know what I mean? I get that protective big sister energy, and that's all I was trying to do, was keep him safe, but it didn't work. So anyway, there was that. And then at that time, after they walked out, I was like completely screwed. I had all these orders that were just a total mess. They'd also been printing shipping labels and just leaving them, not actually mailing the packages. So I had stacks of shipping labels all over the place of people. I look in the messages, and it's like full of complaints and cases and all this stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, they sabotaged me on purpose. Unintentional sabotage. Saboteurs. Can you imagine? So anyway, I just bite the bullet. I'm like, well, I've got to shut down my shop for a couple weeks so that I can fix this, you know? So I shut down the Etsy shop, delay the opening of the store yet again, get an employee hired who was a literal gift from the divine, and she's still with me, and you know, get the shit fixed so that we can move forward, right? So that's what I do. Well, in the 2 weeks where I'm trying to get all this done, Etsy's like, wait a minute, you've got way too many cases and stuff open, so we're going to shut you down for another 2 weeks now. So I was out of income for an entire month, my Etsy shop, at the worst possible time. You know what I mean? It was like the worst possible time, because I had to finish the store so that I could open it. There were things that needed to be done and installed. I mean, you can see I still don't even have a freaking doorknob, but it's because, you know what I mean? I had to do all the stuff myself or hire somebody to do it, right? So, anyways, it was the worst possible time to be shut down with no income at all. So I had to take out several loans, I had to take out loans to finish the store and to float the business, until I got back on track. So we're back on track now. Of course, retail is a funny thing right now, but we are back on track, and slowly but surely I am crawling my way out of this hole. I have, as a result of this whole incident, decided to completely cut out all narcissists out of my life. I will never again be associated with a narcissist in any way, shape, or form. That was the learning lesson here. I had to cut out family members, that I really love, at some level, I guess, but I can't take the narcissistic abuse anymore. I can't take the jealousy. I can't take the attempts to control, the lack of just, support and empathy in a human being. That's no, it's not any way to live. It's not any way I'm gonna live, you know what I mean? I'd rather be independent and on my own than be under somebody's thumb like that, be controlled and basically made to be very, very small, And I've also figured out through all of this that the reason that I attract that type and that I am attracted to that type of personality is that I was raised by one, And so to me, that's like, a mother's love. It's like, oh, goody gumdrops. I can't wait to be, emotionally abused and used. Yay, that's exactly what it is. It's like, and I had to recognize that in myself and really seriously apply those principles moving forward. The third biggest thing was protect yourself spiritually, girl. I have been hexed, you guys. I've been hexed. Like I almost died. I'm laughing now again because it didn't work, and I'm sure somebody paid a lot of money for that. Sorry, it didn't work. You might want to get a refund. But yeah, no, I ended up in the hospital with like cardiac arrhythmia, which was not fun. My heartbeat was like 177 beats per minute, and they couldn't get it to come down. They thought I was on drugs. They're like, are you on drugs? I'm like, no, I'm not on drugs. Oh my God. That was the wildest thing. I was in the ambulance earlier that day. It was that evening, actually. I was staying in an Airbnb, and I took a shower. Something felt off, but I couldn't quite figure out what it was. I was like, maybe I'm just really exhausted. I was thinking that's what it was. I just moved. It was like the 4th of July. There was a lot going on, I was still really, really depressed and just upset about, everything that had happened. And so, which I'm not done telling you about the employees either. There's another thing. But anyways, I was just going through a lot, and my anxiety was like, through the roof, and take a shower, come out, and then I sit down on the bed, and I'm like, my heart's beating fast. Like it won't stop beating fast, And so I started to see like sequencing numbers everywhere I looked, like on my phone, on my tablet. It was like 1111, 2222, 4444, 777. I'm like, oh, wow. And I saw that in succession about 5 times, like different sequences of numbers. And then what finally got me to call 911, because I did not want to get a hospital bill, because I had to stop my insurance, because I had to stop all unnecessary expenses until I got myself out of the hole, right? So cut off my health insurance literally like a month before, of course. So I didn't want to have a hospital bill, but I was like, this is serious. Like, you know what I mean? You could tell. So I guess I could tell, like, I was like, this isn't right. And then there was like a siren sound that kept going off, like, that was like, I was like, should I call 911? Should I call 911? And I asked out loud, should I call 911? I was like, give me a sign. And the siren sound went off, and I was like, okay, we'll just call 911. So they got there and, checked me out and stuff, and they were trying, while I was sitting there to get my heart rate to come down. They were having me like move in different positions and stuff, and, checking out all my vitals and everything, and seeing if I was on drugs and all this other stuff. And, they couldn't do it. They couldn't fix it. But it was wild, because like after they couldn't get it fixed, it was like, then it was like emergency time, like they jabbed like, needles like into both of my arms. I was like, ow, 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 but it doesn't matter at that point. Like when you're, in a crisis state, like they need to just hurry up and get you prepped for, whatever's going to happen to you when you get to the hospital. This is all a very interesting new experience to me. I've never even been to the emergency room before this. Well, one time. And it was also for my heart. But, you know, this isn't like a common thing for me. So anyway, I went through that. What else happened? Cut the narcissist out. That was the same weekend. The employee. Okay, so this was the final kicker. Well, not really, but this was another major issue. So while I'm going back and forth, or while I'm in crisis, okay, total crisis, right? After Atlanta, after the breakup happened, after all of this stuff, okay, I'm just like, oh my God, you know, this guy that used to work for me last year, he worked for me for like 3 months, you know, last year when we were in the house, texted me. And he's like, hey girl, he's like, you know, I was just checking on you, see how everything's going. And I'm like, hey man, I'm like, yeah, it's not going too good. I'm like, you know, telling him, you know, I got screwed over, blah, blah. He's like, oh shit, I'm so sorry. He's like, you want me to come help you? He's like, you don't have to pay me. I just want to come help you. I was like, are you sure? He's like, yeah. And of course I didn't let him go without pay. You know what I mean? I paid him. But after like a week or so, I was like, let's go ahead and put you back on payroll, because he was working a day job, a 9 to 5. And then he was coming over here. Well, this is what he said. It was all lies. Then he was coming over here after his day job for 2 or 3 hours to help me get packages out, to help me fix, you know, order problems and issues and all this stuff to clean up from the sabotage. So I was like, awesome. So I was like, let's put you back on payroll. You know what I mean? Blah, blah, blah. Well, after another couple of weeks, he was like, you know what, Tina, I'm going to quit my day job. I want to do this, you know, full time, because I had a position posted for the one that's filled now. And it was basically for my assistant, you know, and he wasn't going to be good at being my assistant, because, you know, he was too rough, too abrupt, you know what I mean? Like he's from the streets, you know what I mean? Like he's a very rough, tough kind of guy, but he, you know, he works hard, and that's what I needed at the time, is somebody that could get in here and help me fix this shit, you know what I mean? So that's what he was supposed to be doing. So anyway, I was like, yeah, I guess we could take you on, you know. I was like, don't quit the job for me though, you know. And I told him, it's under these conditions. Here's your hourly wage. I cannot pay you what they're paying you. You know, here's your schedule. He had a full schedule, you know. Everybody was very clear on stuff. And he's one of the things that he was trying to help me with was, you know, getting the administrative stuff back on track, because he's a PMP, he had an administrative background. Again, I didn't verify that credential, but that's what he said. So he's like, let me help you take over some of this stuff, you know. And he's like, I'll take over payroll. And again, I don't give people access to my bank account. I don't give people access to money like directly where people could steal from me. But like payroll, I was like, oh yeah. I mean, because that's literally just reviewing the timesheets and just pushing the approve button. You know what I mean? So, and if it's just him and her, you know, I mean, there's 3 of us here. That's not going to be that extensive of a duty, but it's something that's time sensitive, and that, yeah, you know, it was something I could give to him so that it was one less thing on me. So he takes payroll. Well, guess what? He starts paying himself 20 plus hours a week of overtime. I had no idea, you know, until about 5 weeks in. I didn't catch it. 5 weeks in is when I caught it, because I'm like, damn, where's all the money going? Like, what the hell's going on, you know? So then I start looking through the charges in the business account, and I'm like, oh my God. And you guys might be like, Tina, how could you not have noticed? Well, let me tell you, our business account, we use so many little supplies and materials that there's pretty much a purchase in that account, at least one, you know, every single day. There's thousands of line items, you know what I mean? Because we're constantly getting stuff off Amazon and, you know, at the store, whatever. Like there's a lot of like softwares and systems. There's a lot of charges that come out of it, you know. And I had it very, very well managed, you know, when I was fully staffed. But you know, when I went through the crisis, the walkout, like I wasn't able to sit down and literally put eyeballs on it like I should have been doing, like I was before, you know. And of course he knew that. So he paid himself 20 to 25 hours a week of overtime every single week until the operating account was depleted. It was a good time. And this is after I took a loan, you know what I mean, to float it. And then he stole all the money from the loan. So I had to take out of my retirement just to keep things going. And that's what I've been doing, is just trying to keep things going one day at a time. It's like a depth pit of hell, and I'm trying to claw my way out of it. It's not easy, but I'm trying, you know, I'm doing the best I can. I just have a whole lot on my plate right now, which is why my schedule is backed up. And guys think I have a kid too, you know, she's 7. So I've got her, everything online, everything with the brick and mortar, you know, it's a lot. There's a whole lot on my plate. So I appreciate your guys' patience with me. Thank you very much. for everybody that has been kind and patient and supportive and has waited for your spells. And listen, y'all have to realize and remember, everything happens in divine timing. This is not for no reason. You know what I mean? There are no coincidences. If you haven't been cast yet, there's a reason for that. You know, the divine wants it to be a certain way on a certain day at a certain hour at a certain minute, and that's what's going to happen, you know? And I'm working on, you know, pushing through to get as many out as I can, but I want your stuff to work. And so I don't want to sit there and do energy work when, you know, I'm not in the best of energy. And it's been difficult to get in the best of energy. I've been through a lot. So I have a lot of people, a lot of haters, a lot of people lie about me, that lie to me, you know. It's really bad. It's crazy out here. So anyways, I'm just trying to, you know, keep my head above water and stay out of trouble. And that's about it. Okay, my friends, thank you again so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I am terribly sorry to all of my beloved clients that I've had for so many years that have had to suffer, you know, due to all of this insanity. And I'm also very sorry to my daughter, who really, you know, is the unfortunate victim of all of this too. She also got ghosted, you know, and that's what I was so worried about. I was so worried, and that's why he seemed like such a safe bet. You know what I mean? I was like, because I have to be careful. I have to be mindful of my daughter. You know, she's my first priority in everything I do. But yeah, she's the one who ultimately suffers. I digress. Okay, my friends, much love, many blessings. Talk to you soon.